In the game of entry-level performance motorcycle chess from a global perspective, Kawasaki is a spectator's delight. While other players such as Honda, Yamaha and KTM make incremental moves, Kawasaki rather enjoys making big leaps. That should explain why the Ninja 250 grew up to be the Ninja 300 and now it's evolved rather substantially into the Ninja 400. This evolution has come at a hefty price, however. But is the Ninja 400 exciting enough to make you overlook all that money you're going to have to spend? Let's find out.
It's striking, it's adequately green, and it's got all the contemporary bits you'd expect on a modern day Ninja. While the overall styling is sporty, it's got a decent amount of visual mass as opposed to going down the size 0 route. At the moment, you can only have the Ninja 400 in the Kawasaki Racing Team color scheme, and that's not something too many of you will complain about. The full LED twin headlights are in line with the new Ninja design language, and the 3-point LED tail lamp will remind you of the Z1000 and the ZX-10R. The instrument console is a slick-looking unit, and it features a negative LCD screen which makes for good readability. In other news, the fuel tank has now gotten smaller at 14 litres as opposed to the 17-litre tank seen on the Ninja 300, which will definitely affect its overall range. Kawasaki has focused a good amount on build quality and finish, and things like the mirror stalks, switchgear, handlebar controls and foot pegs feel quite premium. However, there are some things that aren't quite nice too. For a bike of its price, it's surprising that the Ninja 400 doesn't get adjustable levers, for instance. And then, there are bigger, more thought-provoking imperfections as well. Firstly, the rider's seat has an odd contour which forces you to sit a bit too close to the tank, and it's also unusually narrow at the front, making it uncomfortable over a period of time. And then you have the humongous sari guard and ungainly grab rails, both of which are government mandated add-ons which will fetch you a fortune at the scrapyard.
The Ninja 400 isn't exactly what you'd call pretty, but in true Kawasaki tradition, it's quite aggressive. There's more than a hint of the supercharged H2 at the front end, and in KRT colors, it looks just right. Having said that, it feels bigger than the Ninja 300 and also the Z650, although that's not quite the case on paper. On another note, fit and finish levels are quite good, and it justifies its price tag in this aspect.
It surely justifies its price tag in terms of style, but what about the more important bit, substance? Kawasaki seems to have thought about it all, and the result is a machine that's hugely impressive on paper. It started with increasing the bore and stroke of the 300cc parallel twin motor, which resulted in the 399cc capacity, and the compression ratio was hiked up as well. When Kawasaki was finished, it had created a 49 HP motorcycle. That's a whole 10 HP more than you get on the Ninja 300, which now makes it the most powerful motorcycle in its class. An aftermarket exhaust and some clever work on the ECU should see you cross the magic 50 HP number easily. Torque has gone up by an impressive 11 Nm as well, taking the total up to a very healthy 38 Nm. It produces peak power and torque lower in the rev range than the Ninja 300 could manage, something that should make it the best entry-level Ninja for urban conditions yet. To top it all, the Ninja 400 features a well-engineered 6-speed gearbox with a slip-and-assist clutch, making for delightful gear shifts and a light lever action. Equally impressive progress has been made in the chassis department as well, with nearly everything being brand new. The high-tensile steel trellis frame is stiffer yet lighter, the telescopic fork is thicker, the wheelbase is shorter, and the steering geometry has gotten sharper as well. Kawasaki has also equipped the Ninja 400 with a bigger 310mm pedal disc while opting for lighter wheels and wider Dunlop tires. As a result, it's now 6 kg lighter than the Ninja 300 and is only 3 kg heavier than the KTM RC390.
A lot of work has gone into making the Ninja 400, but has it really been worth it? Or is it a case of too much for too little? Well, I've never known a Ninja to be disappointing, so let's see if the 400 can keep with that tradition.
It can. The Ninja 400 is a power-packed motorcycle and it rather likes laying all of it down. The parallel twin motor now sounds gruffer than on the smaller Ninjas, and as you go faster, the soundtrack gets better as well. At 5000 RPM, the engine comes into its own, and if you have the will and a safe enough environment to keep the throttle pinned beyond this point, you're in for a lot of fun. Throttle response is quick but smooth, and there's an even spread of power that makes it engaging yet unstressed all the way up to 12,500 RPM when the limiter kicks in. The relentless rain denied us the chance to test the bike, but it would be fair to assume a 0 to 100 kph time around the low 5-second mark. Top speed should be above 180 kph, going by how easily 160 kph shows up on the speedo. It certainly feels quicker, even if just slightly so, than the KTM RC390, and it sports good cruising characteristics as well, with 100 kph in 6th gear coming up at about 6000 rpm. On the whole, the Ninja 400 comes across as a compelling evolution in a package that's fun and very approachable at the same time.
The Ninja 400 is such an indulgence. While it's not as refined as its predecessors, it's a lot more tractable through the rev range and is a whole lot faster as well. While it's not manic or hyper, it's great company on a fast, twisty road. The engine and gearbox come together to provide seamless performance, and in the real world, it's fast enough to keep you hooked for a good number of years.
In those years, what you'll enjoy even more than the performance, however, is the handling. The Ninja 400 feels more athletic than the 300, and it feels at home making quick directional transitions. It also feels very planted, no matter what you throw at it, but it's not boring or too clinical, thankfully. Despite the challenging weather, the Dunlop Sport Max tires had a good amount of grip on offer, and they definitely are a much wiser choice than the IRCs on the Ninja 300. Thanks to the sharper brakes assisted by the dual-channel ABS and, wherever applicable, by the slipper clutch, shedding speed is just never a challenge, even in extremely wet conditions. Lastly, while the Ninja 400 is more committed than the Ninja 300, especially in terms of the higher set foot pegs, its friendly 785mm seat height and reasonably positioned clip-ons still make for a decent riding position over street use. The only niggle is that your right foot remains in constant contact with the exhaust heat shield, which is an oversight you don't expect from a manufacturer with so much experience in creating performance motorcycles. On another note, you will notice the firmer suspension over bumpy roads, especially at the rear, a compromise Kawasaki has made in order to favor more thrilling dynamics.
It's impossible not to be impressed by the Ninja 400. Here's a great looking, well-built machine that's fast enough to convincingly keep you off larger displacement motorcycles such as the Kawasaki Z650 for instance. Speaking of which, you can have the Z650 for just 37,000 rupees more, and it's too tempting a bike to resist. Priced at 4.69 lakh rupees ex-showroom, the Ninja 400 is absurdly expensive, and the 2 lakh rupee price difference between this and the Ninja 300 is very hard to digest. If Kawasaki can substantially slash its price tag, the Ninja 400 will prove to be quite popular, but for now, it's stalemate.